Mr. Chancellor, Madam President, colleagues, Carleton graduates, ladies and gentlemen, I have the privilege of introducing to you Mr. Ben Heppner, internationally renowned operatic tenor, public advocate for the arts, and radio broadcaster. For the past 2.5 decades, Mr. Heppner has been hailed among the most sought-after musical talents in the operatic world. His command of the demanding Helden tenor repertoire, the heroic repertoire of Wagner, Strauss, and Verdi, among others, is second to none. He is also widely appreciated for the depth and intelligence of his interpretations and for the expressive character that he has brought to the roles that he has played, enriching the repertoire with a lyricism and a musicality that is his own. Beyond the operatic stage, he has pursued a varied range of musical styles and genres, performing with orchestras and in recital. He has donated his time and talents to a variety of charitable causes, and in his weekly broadcasts on the CBC, he is now heard by thousands of Canadians in his role as radio host and commentator. Probably like many of you here today, Ben Heppner had very modest beginnings in a small town, Dawson Creek, BC. He pursued his musical studies at the University of British Columbia. He first came to the attention of the Canadian public as winner of the CBC Talent Festival in 1979, and later garnered international recognition as winner of the Metropolitan Opera auditions in 1988. From that point on, Heppner's skyrocketing career took him to the most prestigious opera and concert stages of the world, from Vienna to Paris, Berlin, London, New York, and beyond, where he set new standards of performance in some of the most demanding operatic roles, such as Wagner's Lohengrin and Tristan, Verdi's Otello, and in a more contemporary vein, the complex and dark leading role of Benjamin Britten's Peter Grimes. In addition to his work on the international stage, however, Heppner has taken his artistry to smaller communities, touring in remote regions of Western Canada and in the North, bringing classical music to places that would not normally enjoy the live performances of international caliber such as his. Beyond the stage, Ben Heppner has appeared in numerous recordings by Deutsche Grammophon and other labels, on DVDs, and in the Metropolitan Opera HD series in cinemas. His recorded work has garnered over several Juno and Grammy Awards, and he has also received numerous honorary doctorates from prestigious academic institutions throughout Canada. He's been the recipient of the Governor General's Performing Arts Award, and in 2008, he was promoted to the Companion of the Order of Canada. Perhaps less glamorous, less recognized, Ben Heppner has lent his talents in support of a variety of charitable causes. For a decade, he was the honorary spokesperson for the Lung Association, and he has given numerous master classes, performances, and benefit concerts for the arts and community organizations, large and small. Last year, Heppner announced his retirement from the concert stage, but he continues to teach and pursue his arts and charitable work. And Canadians continue to hear his voice as host of CBC Radio 2's Saturday afternoon at the Opera and Backstage with Ben Heppner, where he offers insights and stories that only can come from someone who has spent a lifetime as an engaged interpreter and performer. The human voice is one of the characteristics that define us as human. Spoken language is our most essential mode of communication, and theater and song are our most expressive forms. Ben Heppner has devoted his life to exploring the heights of emotion and the deepest reaches of meaning and expressivity possible through the human voice, and his many audiences have been the beneficiaries of that exploration. Mr. Chancellor, in recognition of his contribution to the enjoyment and appreciation of classical music through his consummate artistry, creative genius, arts advocacy, and ability to communicate his impressive knowledge, I request that you confer the degree of Doctor of Music honoris causa upon Ben Heppner.
By virtue of the authority vested in me by the Board of Governors and upon recommendation by the University Senate, I confer upon you the degree of Doctor of Music honoris causa. Congratulations.
Mr. Chancellor, Chair of the Board, Madam President, graduates, honored guests, I'm really humbled to receive this honorary doctorate from Carleton University. I've heard a lot of good things about you, about your journalism, your public affairs, and cognitive science, whatever that is. I have to say nice things about Carleton because, well, my boss graduated from here. The question comes to mind as I stare out at you, at your bright, shining faces and your fantastic fashion choices, is what am I doing here? I suck at writing speeches. I was an average student, and quite frankly, academia scares me. I never thought I would get an honorary degree. No one ever does. I just think I was lucky to finish one degree. Well, let me give you a little background, one quick story, and then I'll wrap things up. My beginnings were, as was said already, rather ordinary. I was raised in Dawson Creek, a small city in northern British Columbia. It's very nature intensive. And to be honest, singing opera could probably get you beat up. So how did I end up as an opera singer? Well, music started at home. My whole family could sing, and my parents would probably have given me away to another family if I couldn't have sing. That's what we did. So I grew up wanting to spend my life immersed in music. I thought I'd become a music teacher. But I ended up singing opera in fabulous places all over the world. I'd like to tell you it was a grand master plan, but that would be a lie. What I want to tell you is I learned to say yes to the right things. One crucial moment in my life happened about 30 years ago. It was 8 years after I had graduated from the University of British Columbia, and I'd been unemployed most of the time. My mother must have been so proud. Now, not that I lazed around the house or anything. My beloved and me, we kept busy producing children. We have 3. I took singing lessons and I did small gigs close to home. And one of those gigs was at a fundraiser for charity. I got to dress up in my tuxedo and perform with some of the world's best best singers in the world. Life was good. But you don't get paid for charity work. The very next day, I hit rock bottom. My children needed to eat, my bills needed to be paid. I was desperate. What to do? So I phoned my friend Larry. He had a company that repaired houses that were damaged through fire and flood. He needed help. So I showed up bright and early with my work boots and gloves. I ripped out all the burnt stuff from inside and carried it to the dumpster. And close to quitting time, me and my co-workers had to carry out the fridge. It was full of rotten meat that had been rotting for 3 weeks. I was sick. And that's when Larry showed up. He was in his brand new shiny Cadillac, a blue blazer and gray slacks. He laughed at me. Ben, he said, look, I told you, this job is beneath you. And I looked at him and I said, Larry, when your family needs to eat, no job is beneath you. But thank you for giving me this job. Thank you because I'm quitting. I am going to work so hard on singing that I will never have to do this again. You know, that moment clarified everything for me. It wasn't money that motivated me. It wasn't fame or travel. I realized what gave my life meaning. If I may misquote Eric Liddell in the movie Chariots of Fire, God gave me a voice, and when I sing, I feel his pleasure. I learned a really valuable lesson that day, when to say yes and when to say no. And it wasn't always easy. For example, some of the no's, a family friend offered me, you're going to love this, a Kentucky Fried Chicken franchise. It looks like I already own it, I know. But I would have been rich. And then there was another business opportunity that paid like 10 times what I was earning at the time. And I had to say no to people who put me down. And then I had to say yes to a couple of things too. I had to say yes to the risk of becoming a performer. It's not easy because, quite frankly, you often fall down flat on your face. But I also said yes to getting up and doing it again. And I said yes to walking through a very uncertain future of a freelance musician. Now, I'm guessing that a few of you already know what you were built for, why you're on this earth sucking in oxygen. But I'm certain most of you don't. And that's okay. The what to do with your life thing is kind of trial and error. But I need to warn you that you may go through hell trying to figure it out. Do it anyway. You need to know why you're here. You need to figure out what you're good at and how to get better. And you need to learn to say yes to the right things. It's not always obvious. Here's a couple of suggestions. Unless it's a necessity, don't do it for the money. And don't just let anyone, and this is really important for you at your age, don't let just anyone tell you their opinion. You get to choose. Listen to the people who count. Listen to those who have earned your trust. Say yes to them. And acknowledge your roots. We come from very humble backgrounds, many of us, but don't be defined by it. So you decide where you're going and say yes to opportunities that make you grow. And then, buckle up. You're in for one heck of a roller coaster ride. Thank you.